everyone. This is Liz Brush, and we're going to start our Certified Trainers webinar. I'm going to allow for 2 more minutes for people to get on. I think that if they haven't been on this, they need to download the app. So we will start at 8:02. So just hang tight. Okay, it's 8:02. My name is Liz Brush, and I'm the Women's Officials Education Manager at US Lacrosse, and we're going through the Certified Trainer webinar for the 2019 season. As you know, this is part of your requirement. So this evening, what we'll do is you'll hear from 3 people. Myself, I'm going to go through some requirement stuff. You'll also hear from Sue Perkins, who is a member of the official subcommittee. She's also a member of the Women's Officials Training Committee, as well as Maggie Walsh, who is also on the Women's Officials Training Committee. And these two spend a lot of their time helping develop resources. And you'll see, we'll walk through a number of the resources tonight. So I will go through some training materials. We'll go through the requirements to become, if you're new, a certified trainer. And those of you that are recertifying as trainers, we'll go through your certification requirements. We'll talk a little bit about training classes and events, and then we will go through the materials that have all just been re-updated. We have used the materials in the past, and we have the same spot where they sit. However, we have just updated all the training materials to follow along with the format of the rule book. So now our rule book, our training manual, and our training content units follow the same pattern. So it's easy to work from one to the other. So, okay, Maggie, click. To become a certified trainer, many of you've already gone through some of this process, but to know for other trainers, there's a application on the US Lacrosse website. If you go to the Certified Trainer certification page, you're going to apply through there. The application will go to your state and region coordinator. So you need to know who your state and region coordinator is, and you can find that on the US Lacrosse website. On that same page, what you see there, just to the left of the training certification red circle, it says officiating contact. So if you do not know your state or region coordinator, that's where you would find it. Recommendations are required to be a certified trainer. So you can go through a local board chair, a local trainer. You can go to your state or region coordinator to apply. and they'll be reviewed by these coordinators as well as myself and a task force that works with certified trainers. To apply, we're looking for somebody who has at least 3 years of officiating at the high school level. Somebody who may have experience assisting with the training of new officials, not necessary, but if you've done some training with your board or your area, this is a great asset to have to bring to this. And a recommendation from your state coordinator or local board. What we're really looking for is somebody who knows the game. You don't necessarily have to be the highest rated official or the official that does the highest level of game in your area. What we really want is somebody who has a passion for teaching, somebody who's interested in giving back to their organization, and somebody who's got a good knowledge of the U.S. Lacrosse rules as well as the youth rules. So if you know people in your area that are interested, if you're a training coordinator and you're looking for people, you can find somebody that maybe is not necessarily a level 3 or a collegiate official, but they have a passion for teaching and they know the high school rules. For the certification requirements, if you're on here, you've already met the few. You need to maintain your current membership. Registration is, you'll get sent a registration link from probably the U.S. Lacrosse officials inbox or mail, or myself. That registration is a one-time $50 fee. Once you're in the program, you will be certified the first year, and every year after that, you'll just get bumped into the recertification. You need to have a background check through the U.S. Lacrosse. The company we work with is NCSI, and that is a risk management requirement. The background checks are good for 2 years. So if you were a certified trainer, you started maybe last year, you're good through this year, and then when we come back around to next year, you're going to have to redo your background check. So every 2 years. There is a brand new, as of 2018, Girls Rules and Penalty online course, and we're going to ask that everybody take the new course. I know many of you took the original course that came out in 2007, I believe. So the new course, again, is reorganized. It follows the new format of the rule book. And so it's important that you're going to be asking all of your new officials and returning officials, hopefully, to take this course. This course is updated annually with the new rules, and we're going to have a new rules chapter as well as the new rules will be updated within each chapter where the rule coincides. So you need to make sure you go in and take this course. We are updating the Certified Trainer online course. We hope to have this live by convention. So your certification, you probably won't be certified until the new year, just based on this. This course is a piece of your certification. If you're new to it, the course that's coming is going to be really interactive. We're really excited about it. It has a lot of great information. So please be patient, and there will be an email that goes out to make sure everybody knows when this course has gone live. So that's part of your requirement as well. And we will ask the people who are recertifying to take this course as well. Another requirement is participating in this webinar. So you're all complying with that. If you have other trainers in your area, they may watch the recorded version, which will probably be up hopefully by late this week. That'll be available on the e-learning platform under the trainers, women's officials trainers area on e-learning. And then finally, you have to score 85 or above on the annual rules exams. You do have to take, I should have put exams S. You do have to take both rules exams and pass both rules exams. And I think that's one spot where a lot of people miss is they forget to take the youth rules exams. Those are typically available in December. If you're recertifying, you're automatically enrolled in the recertification program. So you maintain your U.S. Lacrosse membership, make sure your background check is current. You're going to participate in this webinar or watch the recorded version. Score, again, 85 or above on the rules exams, and then review the online course. If you haven't seen any of the new online courses, they're in different chapters, and we're going to add a chapter to the rules online course at the end that has to do with just the rule changes. So you'll need to go in there and take a look at that course again. All right, Maggie, where are we? And I'm going to pass this over to Sue.
Thank you. Can you hear me? I'm going to assume that you can. One of the best things that we as certified trainers can do is work with the people on our board who are going to be assisting us and the other certified trainers to be sure that we are all on the same page. I can't express to you enough how important it is that we're all teaching the same thing, using the same materials, and that everyone on our local boards is getting the same exact message. It's also really great because when you travel to different parts of the country and you're working games, everyone is using the same language. Everyone has seen the same message. Everyone is using the same signals. There isn't room for any gray area, and it's nice that we, again, are all on the same page. One of the things that we say is failure to plan is planning to fail. So figure out how many people on our boards are certified trainers. Bring them together and plan together. This way, everyone will be invested in the training format. Use conference calls. There's free online, free conference call places that you can find online. Google Plus has actual face-to-face that you can do together for free. Many businesses, members of your local board belong to businesses that can give you free time, like this webinar. So work together as a team, figure out when you can all get together to meet online or in person. Our board, our certified trainers get together and we have a nice meal together and we talk about what we're going to be doing. Week 1, we're going to present this. Week 2, we're going to present that so that we're all on the same page. But plan together as a team so that you, again, are all on the same page. Thanks, Maggie. When you're planning, it's really important to have some information about who are you training. Use your board's website and social media. Set up a Google form to determine who's interested in becoming an official and what area they're from. We use Google Forms on our website so that we know where to place our new official classes. Maine is a huge state with truly emerging markets coming up north of us. So we need to know how many people in the greater Bangor area are interested in becoming officials, how many people in southern Maine are interested in becoming officials, so that we can plan appropriately and make sure that we're working and hitting as many places as we can. Colleen has done a great job in using Facebook in order to reach new people. So get the young people in your board, the active people in your board, to get you set up on Facebook, to use Instagram, to use Twitter. Reach out and let people know that you are actively recruiting officials and you want to gain information from them so you know where you want to set your classes and to hit as many people as possible. Once you have that information, you can start to plan your clinics. What areas of your state or what areas of your local board do you need to plan for? Some boards are small. You only have one, very small geographic area. You really only need to have one training course offered for new officials. Some states are huge and your emerging markets are huge. So you need to plan so that your trainers know, well, we're going to travel north, so that you can budget for that training, so you can budget for that travel, maybe even an overnight in a hotel, in order to make sure that you're meeting the needs of the people who are going to be joining your board in those areas that are currently not really served. How experienced is the group? I always ask in our Google form for our new officials, have you officiated other sports? It's sometimes really, really helpful to know if you've had people coming and joining you who've blown the whistle before. They usually have a really easier time making that transition. And don't try and do it all yourself. If you do not have enough certified trainers, work with others on your board. People who are teachers are great resources. They can not only help you teach your courses, but they can probably hook you up with their schools to give you a teaching or training place to work in. It's also really a good idea to make sure that when you're planning together and you're using that recruiting data, are you having people come who are former players? That makes a real big difference in terms of planning your time. If you're doing a course for current college players, they not necessarily need as much time as people who have never even seen the game before. So that helps you in your planning to know who's coming and what kind of experiences they have had before. Meet the needs of your new officials. Find a way for them to join your board. Select training sites that are convenient for a majority of your new recruits and work with their schedules to ensure that they can participate. Network with your athletic administrators in your area to secure high school classrooms to use for training. I know when we welcome new high school programs, we ask those athletic administrators to provide us space and to reach out to the teachers in their building, to reach out to the teachers in their district, so that we can try and hook some of those teachers into our board as new officials. Your athletic administrators have a huge vested interest in you growing officials in their area. It's going to save them in travel expenses. It's going to give them familiar faces for not only the players, but also for the people in the area who are going to attend those games. Local colleges with women's lacrosse programs are a great resource and often work with you to provide classroom space. I know here we use 3 different colleges in order to train officials, and they bend over backwards to give us space and give us what we need, and they don't charge us a penny. So just reach out, network with those people, because I'm sure that you can find resources that will work for you. When you set your dates and times and hours for classes, try and be as adaptable as you can, but remember that you need to cover all of the rules. You can have one class that lasts all day long. You can have 2 classes and maybe break them up 4 hours on one day and then bring them back for 2 hours and then get them on the field at a play day. You can have 3 or 4 weekly classes, but work out what's going to work best for your students, work out what's going to work best for the area that you're in and for your trainers. It's really hard if you're branching out into a new part for your trainers to have to travel, 3 or 4 hours, run a training class for 5 or 6 hours, and then travel home again. So it's real important that you set those times, dates, and hours together with your trainers to figure out who's going to go where, and the best kind of schedule that you can meet all of the needs of your new officials and also cover all of those rules. When you start to set up your training program, it's essential that your new officials know exactly what they need to do on your board for them to get a schedule from your assigner. We keep a checklist that I'm showing you on this page of the webinar right now, where it shows them exactly what they need to do, and they can check off things as they go. We also ask a member of our board to keep track of all of the things that they've done, so we've got a second record of who's done what and when they're ready to get their schedule from the assigner. So make sure that they know beforehand what is it that they have to do to become a member of your board and get a game schedule. Then it's really important that they know who can they contact. Who's the interpreter on your board? How do they get a hold of that interpreter when they have questions? Who's who's their trainer? Give them your information so that they can contact you when they have questions. Make sure that they know this is who the treasurer is, this is who the secretary is, this is who the president is, this is who the assigner is, and give them that contact information so that they know who to reach out to when they have questions, because you know and I know that they will have questions. And then list all of the uniform and equipment requirements that you're going to ask them to have. Tell them what they need for a jersey. Tell them what they need for bottoms and shoes. Go through that they need a set of cards, they need a whistle, and figure out in your board if you're going to offer that to them. One of the things to remember that U.S. Lacrosse this year is starting scholarship programs for new officials. So give them information how to apply for those scholarships so that they can have those starting up costs decreased. It will really benefit them to know that. Figure out when you meet with your training team, what handouts are you going to give everyone? Are you going to ask them to print them out? So send them in a link in an email and have them print them out and bring them to class? Are you going to give them a binder that they can keep everything and you're going to provide those handouts for them? Are you going to give them a rule book? Because if you're going to give them a rule book, you need to budget for that. Sometimes you can get the used rule books from your board members and they can, you can update them as you work through the classes. Maggie's going to talk in a little while about the new rules and the training materials that go with the new rules. So figure out what you want to cover as your board in terms of finances. What are you going to provide? I know in our board, we give everyone a binder with all of the handouts inside, all of the information inside. And I know our friend Barbara Russo, she asks all of her people to print them out and bring them with her. So every board works a little bit differently, but when you and your trainers are all on the same page and you know what you're going to cover and how you're going to get that information to your people in a printed form, whether they're going to do it themselves or whether you're going to provide it for them, it makes a huge difference in when you walk into that classroom and you know, okay, we're going to cover this today, here's the handout, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If you are going to buy and provide new rule books for your officials, please go through US Lacrosse. NFHS charges way more money and they charge a lot of shipping. So if you go through US Lacrosse, it's less money than what NFHS charges and you don't get that huge tack on of the shipping that NFHS does. And also remind your trainees that they can just download it for, I think it's $6.50 off of Amazon and put it on their phone or on their other electronic devices so that they have that copy there. All right, we're moving on. Lots and lots of us have all kinds of training materials that we use to help us. Particularly when you want to get your new officials involved. So a pair of sticks is almost to me essential. We got ours from a local college. They had sticks that they had outgrown their players, but they were perfect for us in terms of teaching the draw, in terms of teaching pocket checks. So see if you can get people from your board to donate, former players. Local high schools will usually have extra sticks that they can give you. Colleges have extra sticks that they can give you, but it's almost essential to me that you have at least one pair of sticks. US Lacrosse a couple years ago put out a vinyl board that was like 4 feet by 3 feet, and it was wonderful to use. I know that Colleen Spiegelhoff is working on getting that kind of blueprint down for someplace like Vistaprint or Staples, where you can just go in and say, I'm going to order this for my board, and that blueprint that will be there for you in order to get it. So we'll get that information out to you when it becomes available. When you use a vinyl board, it's also great to have things like buttons or coins or candy to use as the players and the ball. A dry erase board. I use the green board that you see there all the time when I'm on the field training. that just allows me to show people exactly what I'm meaning. I'd like you to move here. I'd like you to do that. In the classroom, it's you can bring your students together and have them draw. Where do you think you're going to put this particular player? Have them move the player, or have them draw where you think the official should be in the lead, or where do you think the official should be in the trail for this particular setup. Ropes, again, another thing that are almost must-haves in terms of training when you're going to be looking at how are you going to train that shooting space? How are you going to train the tangents? So having a great setup and ropes is almost worth every penny that you spend on it when you're training your new people. We give our new officials a set of cards and a whistle and the U.S. Lacrosse flipping coin. Not every board does that. If your students are going to apply for a U.S. Lacrosse grant, they're going to get those things as part of that new startup fund that they're going to receive from U.S. Lacrosse. But figure out, you and your certified trainer team, what is it that you're going to offer to new officials? What do you want them to receive from you? And if your board cannot afford to give them those things, make sure that you're giving them that link to U.S. Lacrosse, and make sure that you show them other places where they can go online to get those things. I know we order hundreds, 100 red, 100 yellow, 100 green from this ID card place online. It's $16 for 100 cards. And when we train 70 junior officials a year and 20 adult officials a year, it just is a wonderful thing to be able to give them all at the beginning of the year. We use a lifeguard training outfitter in order to buy our whistles at wholesale. So that's another place that we can share with you down the road about where to find things that are much more reasonably priced. And once you finish all your classroom training, it's absolutely essential that your new lacrosse officials get on the field. Use your preseason play days, use round robin play, use scrimmages, but get them on the field with mentors. There's absolutely positively no substitute for on-field training. It's essential. Potential options, again, preseason play days, even JEB games work really well. Sometimes when new official can't make it to the kind of round robin or play day kind of thing, I have them come on the field with me during a JV game, and then we work together. I ask them to shadow me, and then later on in that game, I will shadow them to pick up anything that they might miss. But ask your veterans who's willing to come to those play days and have those new officials work with them. It's always beneficial to those new people to have a mentor to work with. Provide the opportunities to practice. Officiate with a mentor, shadow them, and be creative. As trainers, we're the ones who are responsible for making opportunities for our new officials to learn and practice before they receive their new game schedule. Years and years and years ago, the very first time I saw a lacrosse game was when I was in stripes blowing a whistle. We don't have any excuse for that now. We have a fabulous program through U.S. Lacrosse. You have people who've been trained on your board to be certified observers, but your veterans are just a fabulous resource. Reach out to them and use them. If your board can afford it, offer to give them some kind of a compensation for their time or for their mileage. And then I'm going to turn this over to Maggie, who's going to talk about the new units that we set up, which are really, again, they're fabulous.
Okay, you're probably used to the resource materials that were set up previously if you're a returning certified trainer. This year we've redone all of the materials, and it will follow rule by rule through your rule book, plus supplemental units to deal with game management, teamwork, positioning, and etc. As you go through these, and they are based on the rules, and they will cover the rules in depth, try to make the lesson more practical and discuss the field, and you can add instructions on how to walk the field and what you might see on the field when you're doing that particular unit. Use demonstrations to make sure that the rule becomes live. Demonstrate a pregame, demonstrate a stick check, how to pace off the arc, the hashes, and the restraining line, what 2 meters looks like, what 4 meters looks like, and how to label the field. So just don't go over the rules. Take the rule and make it live so it lives as you use it. With all the rules in the rule book, we go through rules 1 through 12 in the rule book. It is also followed in the manual. We also cover positioning, game management, mechanics, communication, and teamwork. When you go to the resources, if some of these are missing, we're working on them. At present, we're trying to elaborate on mechanics and cover more than just the signals. We would like to cover the mechanics for all situations on the field, especially with our new self-start and some of the things that we might have to make our new officials aware of. So check back often to the trainer resources and make sure that we haven't added something that might be useful to you. We added teacher guidance on each slide. So when you look at these slides, make sure that you look at the notes under the slides. Now, you can access these in a couple of different ways. You can print out the slides in a document format with the notes next to it, or you can print out the slides with empty note spaces next to it so that your students can follow the slides and add notes. But in the notes under each slide, we have, if the slide is animated, we have added where you should click on the mouse or on the mouse pad or the up and down arrows. This example here above the mouse on your screen the example is you're going to walk the field and check some of the measurements, and then it will say click. Well, the measurements will float in onto the slide so that you can go through them one at a time. The length of the field, the width of the field, how far out the restraining lines are, etc. The other thing we've added on the notes page is discussion questions. These are just suggestions from us. You can add your own discussion questions. You can add your own activities to make the rule work for you. This example is a slow whistle situation. This is a suggestion for discussion. Compare the motion of the attacker in the last slide versus this slide and discuss going to goal. So then you can start a discussion with your group and they'll get a more in-depth understanding of what you've experienced on the field. Don't get too involved with it. We want to keep it basic if they're brand new people. We want to make sure that everybody covers various learning styles, and what we have incorporated with these additional notes is we've incorporated, hopefully in each of the folders will be videos. We will suggest using a vinyl board to show, let's say, like the lanes on the field. We've included the discussion questions, and then we've also included activities in the notes where they're suggested for demonstration or to get the class up and moving, and that will also be included on each and every slide. Our next difficulty sometimes is how do we get to these training materials? Now I'm going to go through these slides relatively quickly. I can go back and do it again if we get a lot of people who would like me to do that, but these are just on slides. Now Liz has suggested that once we're all done to get to the end of the PowerPoint, that we go back live to the USL site and go through it again. So this is your start page at USL. You're going to pick officials. Okay, I think we can all find that. Now that will drop down something for you, and it will look like this. You're going to go to trainer certification. Now, you said in the previous slide, yes, that's where I get my certification information. Well, yes, you can get it at that site also, but we're going to move on and we are going to find women's training resources. Now, pay attention because you have to slide all the way down to the bottom right side of this particular page. After you've been here, trainer certification, it will take you here. Make sure you don't go to the men's. I made the mistake of going to the men's and I couldn't find anything. Well, I found stuff, but it wasn't ours. So I was directed to go farther down the page. Notice the slider over here is farther down the page, and click on Certified Trainer Library Access. That is a live link to this next page. Trainer Resources. And click here. The here is in blue. That will link you to the materials on the next page. Now, if you get to a point where you need a password because you've been locked out, this is the password. If it says enter password, authenticate, you are going to type in this space, and that should get you through to this. All right, what's listed on your screen is not updated, but what we're going to list on the screen for you live will be updated. The first three on here are the new materials that we've just put in. Over the last 24 to 48 hours, we have completed the rest of them. So you will find a plethora of materials there for you to look at. After you open the folder, you must download the material, the PowerPoint, and the materials. The PowerPoint will not run in Google Docs. You're going to download it and run it on your computer. Now you can save it on your computer so it's easier to run and you don't have to download it again. That's all well and good. There's no problem doing that. But make sure you remember, open the PowerPoint and then download it. Some of the new rules for 2019, and this is just a quick review. You can find these at the National Federation site, and they are listed quite briefly, I might add, but are white bottoms on the goalkeeper, a double horn for a timeout, so you need to add that to your table instructions. Release of the ball before the horn. If the ball goes in, the goal counts. The AP location when the ball is in the CSA. That location will be on the dot. Excuse me, I needed a glass of water. The goal circle restart location will be the dot or in the goal circle, depending on offense and defense. And the ejected player, in previous years, the ejected player had to sit out for a game, but that is now going to go by state policy, the state association policy. Different states have different policies on red card ejections. So they will have to, the league will probably tell you what that state policy is. So those are the general new rules. The two major new rules. Now, if you've gone through the new rules webinar, and it will be run again tomorrow night, these are the two major, the big rules: the penalty zone and how to clear it, and the self-start and when to allow it. So let's start with the penalty zone. The penalty zone includes all of the 8-meter arc. It will extend the lines from the corners of the arc down to the dot, and then it will go across the back from dot to dot. So that is your penalty zone. Now, please be aware that the penalty zone is inside the CSA. Okay, these are two different zones, and they are both semi-imaginary on the field. There are no set lines for them. Partially lines because we get to use the arc and the fan, but remember, if you're clearing a penalty zone, you don't clear them outside the fan. Okay, that is the CSA. So the penalty zone is listed there in yellow, or displayed in yellow. All players in the penalty zone must stand on the whistle as they have always done, and then be directed out of the zone as you have always done as officials. The players must take the shortest route out of the penalty zone. They're going to be going a little bit farther than they're used to, but they will be directed out. Now, each player will be directed by the officials to a location outside the penalty zone. So here's an example. We've set up a free position on the first inside hash. A4, A3, and A2, along with their opponents, are going to move outside. So we can repeat that. They're just going to move outside the zone. Now, you may need some help with this the first couple of times that you do it, but just be proactive, help them get to the right location, and tell them their sticks and feet have to be out of the zone. Do the best you can with it. I think it's a great new safety feature, and it should help a lot with those players that were running in at the last minute to cover the goal on the insides of the arc. All right, here's a special situation. If a pair of opponents is directed to the hash adjacent to the ball, the defensive player will get the position closest to the ball carrier. So note that when play stopped and you set up the free position at the center hash, the defensive player is outside of the offensive player. B2 is outside of A2. Well, you're going to let them switch positions to go to the hash if you direct them to that hash. They're not entitled to that hash unless that's the one they're entitled to because of their position. So if they're in this position, B2 will get the inside position and A2 will get the outside position. That's the only little quirk that we have in the clearing of the arc. The rest is just how we've done year after year, except we have a bigger penalty zone. This is the rule for the self-start. Following a whistle blown for a foul, I'm not going to read this to you, but if it's outside the critical scoring area, the player may self-start in most situations. Now, there are some situations where they can't self-start, but their feet must come to a stop. They don't have to wait for a whistle. They settle their feet. They have the ball in the head of their cross. The person who fouled, if you're going to direct them to go behind or away, must initiate some kind of movement to go behind or away. If the person with the ball chooses to move before the opponent that you've directed behind or away, then play is on. That was their choice. So if a couple of situations might happen here, the person that's been fouled wants to restart play. They can restart immediately before anybody goes anywhere. They can wait for players to move away or are directed away, or they can sit there and wait for a whistle. You're not going to be ready to give them a whistle, but if they're hesitating and they're hesitating too long, you can give them a whistle. Play will commence once the ball carrier steps, and stepping is releasing possession of the ground under your foot and replacing it, or the player passes the ball. And if they're more than a stick and a half away, it may result in a warning or delay of game penalty. Be proactive when you set these up, and make sure that you're helping them through this process. There will not be a foul for a false start. We will simply reset the players. Defenders may not engage the ball carrier until the ball carrier moves. The ball carrier this does not mean that they rock back and forth, cradle the ball, or pump. They can fake a pass, and that is not the start of play. They can cradle the ball. That is not the start of play. They can rock back and forth as long as their feet don't leave contact and find a new spot. That is not the start of play. So the defenders are not allowed in there. Everybody should be 4 away. It's not 2, it's 4. Self-start is not an option when the game clock is stopped, period. When there's offsides, we have to set up the offsides. And in our situation, in our game, we don't call timeout to do a restraining line setup. But if it is an offsides, they cannot do a self-start. Fouls in the critical, offensive and defensively. We do not stop the clock on those in the high school game, but there is no self-start. No self-start on alternate possession, inadvertent whistle, or a goal is scored. Repeated self-starts will not be allowed, may result in a warning or delay of game. Please help them with this. Be proactive and be aware. A player who self-starts when a self-start is not allowed will be reset for the free position and then restarted on a whistle. You can help with this by giving them some indication that I'm going to set this up and you start on my whistle. Give them some indication that I am not going to whistle this, you may self-start. You're going to have to help them through this, and eventually everybody, I believe, will get the hang of it. The points of emphasis for this year: obstruction of free space, rough and dangerous play, and empty stick check. Hopefully we're going to get you a bunch of videos that you can use to demonstrate these particular points of emphasis, the good and the bad of all of those. And now we have questions, and I'll turn it over to Liz if she's found questions.
Okay, let me open this again. I think I answered in the, if you could put that down below, there were a number of questions about the NCSI link. I'm going to get to your state and region coordinators who can get those to you guys or to your local board chairs and training coordinators. I sent out the password, which is just all lowercase, trainer@USL. That's the password for the Google to the link where all the units are. Right now I have a question. Is the self-start being used at the youth level as well? Yes. All these same rules that were adopted at the high school level are being used at the youth level. If this is a requirement for all officials this year, can we assume you will be able to track it? I guess I'm assuming, I'm not quite sure what that question is. There was a question about requirements for the online courses. You will, as a certified trainer, be required to take the new rules online course, as well as, once it comes out, the new certified trainer online course. All your participants, your students, will also have to take the new rules penalty course for certification. So it only makes sense that you would as well, because you're telling your students to, but it's also part of your requirement for certification. Coaches now have to have background checks done in their membership. Does official membership include this? So the question is, coaches are now being required, all coaches are being required a background check for certification. And at this time, not all officials are being required that. I think we'll eventually get there, but the coaches piece is being driven by a lot of risk management issues that have gone on in our country. So our coaches who are in the certification process, like level 1, level 2, level 3, just as our officials are, they're being required. Is there a different whistle or hand signal for a self-start? Is allowed for players or not? Well, we wouldn't have a whistle because it's a self-start, and we don't have a hand signal because hopefully they've started. So no, there's not a hand signal. Like Maggie said, if players, especially early in the season, are allowed any time, but you'll find earlier in the season players won't be quite used to the self-start, and so they will hesitate, and some, I would think, will just want to have their 4 meters of free space all the way around them, and they may do that. They may wait until that free space is there. All the while, you can tell them that a self-start is allowed, as well as if they don't go when the 4 full meters is there, you may blow your whistle to start. The new rules online course. So someone asked if the new rules online course is required. Yes, you are required to take the new rules online course for yourself for your certification as a certified trainer and for all new officials. It asks for all returning and new officials. Currently, returning officials are not required to take it, but it does cover all the new rules, so it's only going to help them be better. Yes, we are able to track who takes the rules course. That goes right into every individual's transcript. If they've taken any online courses, it's in their transcript. Is it okay for training? Is it okay to share training? This is a good question. Is it okay to share training materials with clinicians who are not certified trainers? Yes, you are going to probably be working with, if your board has a handful of certified trainers, I would hope that you would have other people who are helping with the trainings. So in order to cover all your trainings, and you don't have that many certified trainers, the goal is to eventually have them become certified trainers. But if you have new people training, we would prefer that we really would like the materials that we created used, because that leads to consistency across the country. So that was a good question. Meaning when the foul is called. Meaning when the foul is called. Oh, is there a different whistle or hand signal for when a self-start is allowed when the foul is called? No. When you call a foul, you're going to call a foul just as you have in the past. Show your directional, and that becomes more and more important as the self-start moves along, because the pace of play is going to be that much greater eventually. And then you'll show your foul signal if the girl hasn't gone and you're already running. But there is no other signal to say that this is a self-start. Now, what I would suggest, and I know Maggie suggested, is if it's not a self-start situation, it would be advised to tell the player this is a whistle start, especially early in the season, especially on the fouls such as restraining line, 3 seconds, because sometimes that will not be set up in the critical scoring area. Any foul inside the critical scoring area by the attack that's going the other way, that one tends to also be addressed. Tell them that is going to be a whistle start. And that's how I would put it. This is a whistle start, or this is a self-start. Yes, self-start is going to be implemented at all levels of play, in youth all the way down to 10U. Yes. All players still have to stand until the player initiates their self-start. That is correct. All other players, except the ones that are within the 4 meters and are being moved, have to stand. New rules. The new rules webinar, I didn't, I put in the chat box down below, the new rules webinar, that's tomorrow evening. If you don't have an email, if you don't have that registration link, please email me, lbrush@uslacrosse, and I will get that to you tomorrow. Sorry, I'm trying to get through these.
Liz, down at the bottom, there's a question about can schools mark the penalty zone on their field? Is it allowed? It's not
Yeah.
required.
I think I put that in the chat as well, that is not required, but if a school, especially, you know, a lot of schools aren't going to want to mark up a turf field, but if they have a grass field, I mean, they can if they want to, but they don't have to. Either way, it is not required. We are not requiring schools to mark this, but it is allowed that they may. What else do certified trainers, recertified trainers, that's back in this webinar way at the beginning, so this will be posted. So if you're unsure as a certified trainer or a recertifying trainer, we went through that at the beginning. So basically your membership, you're taking the rules course, you're taking the rules test, both background check, and this webinar. Can a local board at their discretion require all returning officials to take the new rules course? Sure, I would think that would be great. I'm in favor of that. You can have some veteran officials help field training as long as the certified trainers are overseeing everything. Can we have veteran officials? Of course you can. Help with the field training. Where they're certified observers, but we all know that there's officials in our area that have helped with training, that have lots of experience on the field, and we want those people helping our new people. So using certified trainers and certified observers on that, in our mind, is a best practice, but we know that you have great experienced officials who are not in this program, and yes, take advantage of their experience. Newer questions and answers are not showing up. I'm not posting in the chat box right now, so I can't post and answer at the same time. They're down below. If you open the chat box, there's some answers. The rules test, when will they be available? Ideally December. We are going to put them back up on the same format, so those will be up on the e-learning platform. We're trying to incorporate a couple videos, possibly video questions, so it may be a little bit longer, but we're hoping to have them up before the holidays, so it'll be a lovely holiday present for y'all. Sue mentioned a website where you can buy cards. I don't know, Sue, if you have access to the chat box below, if you could possibly put that website in there. Questions aren't there, though. I know the questions are not in the chat box. That's why I tried to use the statement I'm just using the statement that it answers the question, but I'm giving you enough information. If you're interested in the new rules webinar, email me. If schools want to mark, so hopefully you can understand that. Thanks. Well, yes, there are answer keys to both tests that will be provided to you. Matrix chart of each official's classroom. So there is a matrix chart for each official's classroom information that currently resides in the training manual in the back. And it's in last year's and it's in this year's. The online rules and yes, it requirement is that you take the online rules course. It's this core and online certified trainer course, which will be available hopefully by the end of the year. Yes, veteran officials are allowed to help teach classes as long as they're working with the certified trainer at at best, at minimum, using the materials. If you completed the certified trainer course in 27, do you need to take the course again in 2018, 2017, 2018? When it comes out, I think we're going to, yes, we are going to basically take all certified trainers' transcript and upload that they must, in order for certification to be certified, they must take the new course. So yes, it will be mandatory to take that new course when it comes out. So it's probably, you probably won't need to take it until 2019. I think will help others. If you have materials that you think would be helpful to others, just send that to me, and I'm happy to share it with the training committee. Tell us resources where to, yeah, Sue, yep, Sue just posted where to get the cards. Where do the bulk rule books? Sue, again, down below, I think what you said was US Lacrosse. You're gonna have to purchase all those rule books. I have a whole bunch of 2018 rule books, which, yes, I completely understand that self-start is not in there and the penalty zone is not in there. However, all of the rules, such as major fouls, minor fouls, goal circle fouls, restraining line fouls, all of those are in there. So reach out to me if you actually want 2018 pink, 2018, not the new ones, rule books, because I have a closet full of them. So, but I do not have 2019s. You're going to have to purchase those. The training manual, we are editing it right now. And again, we hope that that will also be available mid-December. Sue, they would also like the website for the bulk purchases of whistles. I think you said it was lifeguard training classes. So if you can throw that on there, Sue, that'd be great. Okay, we've just hit 9 o'clock. I'll answer one more question. The manual, is the manual online manual, or do we order one? The manual is going to be the same as it always has. It will be downloadable from our website. However, if you want to order printed copies, then there's a place for you to do that. If you go through the officials certified trainers site, there's a link to a place called Mimeo, and you can order through there.
Liz, would you like me to go through live to get to the materials?
Yeah, why don't you just run through that quickly, and we'll be done in the next, so that'll only take a few minutes, and then we'll call it quits in 5 minutes.
Okay, all right. So here's the opening page, the home page for US Lacrosse. You're going to run your cursor over officials, slide down to training certification. When you get to this page, you're going to go all the way down to women's training certification. Let me get rid of this. Trainer library access. You're going to click on that live. Then it's going to bring you to resource library. You're going to click here for trainer resources. And that will take you to all the new materials that have been uploaded on trainer resources. And this is the new look for all of you. Please check back often because we're constantly adding things to these folders. We're going to be adding activities worksheets and things like that. So in here now are probably mostly just PowerPoints.
All right. Thanks, Maggie.
Okay.
And everybody, again, thank you for your time. Again, email me if you have any questions or would like the link for tomorrow evening, and any other questions that we might have missed. This will be posted by the end of the week. All right. Have a great night.